Good afternoon, dear students. So again, we together will discuss with another topic of migration. And today is 28th November 2020. And for the students of MA semester 3rd who opted the specialized paper of population studies, in the second paper, today I will deal with the Harris-Todarrow model of migration. And students, earlier I told you about the two other laws or theory of migration. One was pull and push factors related Lee's model, and second was distance decay and stepwise model by Ravenstein. And today third model is very much important, which is very much relevant in the COVID era. Because in the country like India, this Harris-Todarrow model of migration based on the rural-urban migration theory is seen and experienced the problems of the labor and problems of the migrants in urban areas. So students, let's start with the concept of Harris-Todarrow model by focusing on rural-urban migration. So we all know, and you must learn, that urban sector has formal and informal sectors. Urban sectors have both formal and informal sectors. And higher urban formal sectors wages induced migration. Before dealing with the model, this is the facts for your learning. And again, higher and inflexible salaries because of unionization, subject to minimum laws, pension schemes, and firms like to pay above average pay for quality workers in order to extract best productivity by making the threat to fire a valid threat. And lastly, and importantly, informal urban and rural sectors have lower wages, later higher than former. So this is how Harris-Todarrow model of migration works and based on rural-urban migration. So student, what Harris-Todarrow model says? It says that if wages were perfectly flexible and equal wages would be paid in industry and agriculture, and there would be no involuntary unemployment. So the model begins with certain hypotheses. The first one is that migration is an individual rational decision. Nobody is there to forcefully push or forcefully pull, but that is an individual rational decision. This is a hypothesis of Harris-Todarrow model. Second, migration proceeds in response to urban-rural differences in expected income rather than actual earnings. This is very much important. People move from rural to urban area for certain expected earnings, but actually they got another type of earnings, maybe less than that expected. So this is another hypothesis. And third is, compare of expected incomes for a given time horizon in the urban sectors, that is return minus cost of migrations, with prevailing average rural incomes in a context of urban job lottery. Students, when migrants from rural areas get as they were expected in urban area, then that may be urban job lottery. But actually that not happens. That you have to research during this COVID era. So how you will explain? You could explain by this graph only. You can see, you make this box type of graph, two y-axis and one x-axis, in one y-axis there is a urban formal wage, in another y-axis there is a agriculture wage, and in x-axis there is a movement of labor. So you can see this is a urban wage line and this is a rural wage line, agriculture wage line, and actually urban wage is W bar, which is expected by the rural one, and in rural society the wage rate is WA. So naturally W bar is more than WA. Through this attraction, movement from agriculture to urban sectors takes place due to this wage differences. So dear students, the graph says that LF workers find employment in good jobs in cities and LA remain behind in the countryside working at a lower wage of WA. Those who migrate from the countryside to the city find themselves employed in the urban informal sector L1. So how does the urban labor work? This Harris-Todarrow migration model says with this diagram. And if you explain this diagram further, then you can explain by this. You can see this is agriculture wage rate, this is a manufacturing wage rate. Manufacturing wage rate is W bar M greater than WA, which is agriculture wage rate, and actually people move here to here for this wage, but actually they equilibrize with the E point. This is equilibrium level, and finally maximum labor gets only this WA star, which is less than even WA, less than their agriculture wage, and more less than expected, that is W bar M. So with this theory, exploitation of labors takes place in the urban areas and maximization of profits in the manufacturing sector in the urban areas took place. So this is how the country like India have to be cautious, because there is a enormous population pressure in the agriculture area, and from agriculture to urban area migration took place for the better wage rate, but actually they are not getting the better wage rate, and the reverse migration type of situation, as we have seen in the COVID era, take place very easily. So this is the problem which you have to solve with this formula. Here we can say that equilibrium is ELF divided by ELF plus L1 W bar plus L1 by LF plus L1 W1 is equal to WA, whereas W bar is the formal wage sector wage rate, W1 is the informal sector wage rate, and WA is the agricultural wage rate. And this formula says that informal sector is an outgrowth of the fact that the formal sector has wages that are too high, so that not everyone is capable of obtaining employment in this sector. At the same time, not everyone else can stay in the agriculture as well. For that would make the formal sector look too attractive and they induce a great deal of migration. Informal sector is a result of this migration. इसलिए विद्यार्थियों, अगर इसको मोटे मोटे तौर पर कहें तो भारत जैसे देश में जहां जनसंख्या का दबाव ज्यादा है एग्रीकल्चर पर, वहां से गांव में ये सोचकर कि हमको ज्यादा वेतन और ज्यादा मजदूरी मिलेगी लोग माइग्रेंट होते हैं, लेकिन एक्चुअली चूंकि ज्यादा लेबर के पहुंचने से जो पहले शहरों में वेज होता था, तो ज्यादा लेबर के पहुंचने से लेबर की संख्या बढ़ती है, और इसकी वजह से जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर हैं, जो अर्बन सेक्टर हैं, उनको लेबर का एक्सप्लॉयटेशन करने का मौका मिलता है डिमांड और सप्लाई के नियम से, और वे बार्गेनिंग करते हैं वेज का, और अल्टीमेटली वेज जो होता है ग्रामीण वेज से भी कम, और जो पहले शहरों में वेज मिलता था उससे बहुत कम मिलता है, जिससे कि संतुष्ट होकर लोग वहाँ जीवन यापन करने के लिए मजबूर होते हैं। और कोविड के इस दौर में इसी मजबूरी के बाद आपने देखा होगा कि चूंकि प्रोटेक्शन नहीं था, क्योंकि सोशल सिक्योरिटी नहीं था, इसलिए मैक्सिमम रिवर्स माइग्रेशन हुआ। ये एक समस्या है जिसको कि आपको एड्रेस करना होगा, एंड दैट्स why should policy try to get rid of informal sector? This is a basic question, and student, maximize national income through best resource allocation is the answer. So assuming demand curves reflect marginal products, If equilibrium is not at intersection of the curves, there is a possibility to increase national income through better allocation. So if you have to go for better allocation, you have to provide better job to the rural migrants. You have to formalize the job of the rural migrants, and then only the resource allocation will be optimum. Resource allocation will be optimum, then national income will increase. And hence, students, there are two ways to remove this informal sector. First, government may restrict the migration, which could not take place in the country like India, where the democratic pattern society prevails. And second is a wage subsidy, which is in the hand of government. And during this COVID era, government should provide wage subsidy to the small and medium enterprises. Then only they could provide wage or salaries to their employees. So this is how we can explain this theory in this COVID era, and this is a part of syllabus. And through this, again, I will send you the slide. And earlier I told you online about the migration restrictions and wage subsidy. Then this is the way, and we experienced in the COVID era that government now is forced to move for one nation, one wage, one nation, one ration card, Atmanirbhar Bharat type of programs, because the issue of migration prevails in COVID era, and that opens the eyes of government. Then they have to restrict the migration very positively, and that's why government of Uttar Pradesh started brain mapping in our state, and they started skilling their laborers so that laborers might stay here positively and get job in the state like Uttar Pradesh. So this is the only positive way to restrict the migration, not forcefully, because in democratic pattern of society we can't restrict migration and we can't restrict any person moving from A place to B place. So thank you and take care.